What is up? I am n.divine83 from over on Instagram and here on YouTube. In this video, we are going to be doing a full fuse stapled helix. Now, in coil class, this is the only coil I didn't get to because it's very hard to do live because my hands are in the way. So this is technically part of coil class. I see a lot of people attempting these. A lot of people ask me about these, and there's some mistakes that I see when people do these. Failing to twist the frames all the way, failing to do it by hand, at least the first fuse, and failing to count the spaces. In this video, I'm going to be using pretty big wires so the camera can pick it up, and also I'm only doing a single coil. But I do prep and show you how to prep enough for dual coil. Alright, but in this video I use 26.4 and 38 gauge. You could use them same gauges if you want a single coil, that's fine. But if you want to go with a dual, you're going to want to use something more like 28 gauge. 0.3 and 38 or 40. So I hope this video is helpful to you. We're just going to get right into it. I hope you enjoy and I hope this helps. Alright, these are the tools I'll be using in this video. I got my drill, I got a coil master wrapping tool, a pair of scissors, a pair of wire cutters, a pair of needle noses, a pair of tweezers, some really sharp tweezers so we could count. I have a tape measure, of course, hot glue, and a lighter. That's up to you. Also a clamp, also up to you. I use a hand drill on this. That will also be up to you whether you want to use this or not. This is just all the tools I'm using. And the wires I'm using for this build are 26.4 Kanthal and 38 nichrome 80. We're going to be starting off with the 26. So how much wire we're going to need depends on how many coils you're making. If you are making one coil, then you're going to need about 16 inches of 26 gauge. If you are making two coils, you're going to need 32 inches. Every coil is 4 inches long around. That's how I make mine, 4 inches long. Each coil has 2 frames, so 4 times 2 is 8. Each frame has 2 wires, so 2 times 8 is 16. That's how much wire you need for each coil. If you're doing 2, times that by 2, and you will need 32 inches of 26 gauge. Hope this helps. So I'm going to take this 32 inches of 26 gauge, and I'm going to fold it in half and insert it in the drill so that I can twist it. Now, it's important to get a uniform twist. Much like a staggered wire where you want nice spacing so that they line up, you want your twists to line up on either side. The best way to get uniform spacing with your twists is to twist it to the max and hold a lot of pressure on it. So I'm going to get it into the drill. I'm going to put my drill on the forward. I'm going to take a bit and put it into the loop, and I'm just going to twist this wire up. Now this is 16 inches now of wire, so it's a little hard to catch on camera. And I'm holding very tight away from the drill. That's going to make sure that I get a nice even twist. Now, if it does break out of your drill, just take the other side, bend a 90-degree angle in it, open the drill, reinsert into the drill, and we want to make sure that we twist this to the max. Just grab this end with the needle noses, bend a 90 in this end, and twist. It should only take a couple more twists, because if it broke, it probably means that it was twisted quite a bit. At the end, when you're comfortable with how tight this is, pinch right here very hard on the twisted wire, let go, slowly, and it's going to recoil in your hand. If you let it bounce too much, you're going to get little wiggles in there. So now I have 16 inches of twisted wire, and it's twisted to the max. Twist it all the way to the max. Now I'm going to prep a ribbon stack. I have 5 pieces of 0.4 ribbon here. If you need more information on stacking ribbon, you can go watch my ribbon stacking tutorial or my staple coil tutorial. I have a bunch of videos that explain this. I suggest, if you've never done a staple coil before, to not attempt this build just yet. Get your staple coils down, get your frame staples down, and then maybe try this after that. After the ribbon stack is made, I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to grab out our twisted wire once again. Alright, I have the 2 ends here. It's about 16 inches. It's about 15 inches, so at 7.5 I'm going to cut it. When I cut it, I'm going to put my fingers on it so it doesn't bounce away. And now I'm going to take these wires that they're cut, and I'm going to flip them up like this, and this is how my frames are going to go. Alright, so this middle, the twists here are a lot like the twists here, and the twists here are a lot like the twists here. Hopefully it's all perfect, but if there's any differences in the twist, this is how they would line up the best. Then I will take my ribbon stack, place it in the middle, make sure that the ribbons are standing up on the 0.1 side. Now I'm going to put my finger on top of all 3 of these wires, slide them off the table, keeping them all together. And then I'm going to get some 38 or 40 gauge wire and wrap it up down here. Now this is essentially where I'm going to start with my fusing. To make sure that this end stays together, I'm just going to put a little dab of hot glue on the end. heating up hot glue with my lighter. And I'm just going to dab it right here on the end. You don't need too much, just enough to hold it flat and in place. Now I'm going to take my fingers, slide them down to the other end, try to get as far down as possible, and I'm going to take some more 38 gauge and just put a wrap on the end, just so the wires are tamed, so they're not floating all about all crazy. Alright, so we're ready to fuse this stapled helix. Now, a mistake a lot of people make is just throwing it in the drill and starting to twist it up, and either just looking at their angles or trying to count the spaces while the drill is spinning. In my experience, I have never got a staple helix by putting it into the drill and trying to fuse it as it's turning. I've also talked to many other people that are very good at stapled helix, and they all say the same thing. You want that wire stable. You want to be looking at one side and hand wrap it, at least the first wrap. After that first wrap's done, you could put it on a hand drill. You could put it on a regular drill and follow the spaces, as you will see in this video. The first wrap is the most important. You need to count out them spaces, and you need to just focus on one side. Twists can cause illusions. Illusions could cause miscounting. It is very important to only be looking at one side of this coil on the first wrap. It's just something that I've practiced. It's something that I've tried over and over again. I see a lot of people making these couple mistakes, putting it into the drill and not twisting the wire enough. Those are two big mistakes I see with helixes. So usually a stapled helix, if I'm not filming it, I just hold it in my hand and wrap it. I usually have some kind of glasses on, and I just hold it in my hand and I wrap it, and I count the spaces and I wrap it. For filming this video, less hands in the way, the better. So I have it set up with this. Now I've done many like this. This is the wire. It's in a clamp, which is in a vise. The wire is facing up. I'm going to be looking from the top down, looking at just one side. I'm not worried about this side. This side will come out fine if I just focus on one side, count my spaces, put my 38 gauge into the gaps that are needed. Now we're trying for a full fused staple helix. That's what we're going for. We're not looking for anything other than that. We want all of these spaces hit. We want it to look uniform, angled. We just want a very nice, clean, stapled helix. This is how I do it. Alright, so I figured I'd give you a quick top-down view. This is the vise. Well, this is the clamp. The clamp is in a vise. Usually, this would just be my hand holding it like this. But this is what it looks like inside of the setup. Alright, so I twisted the frames forward, therefore I am going to helix forward. I'm going to be hand wrapping around this in the clockwise motion. Now, people that watch a lot of my videos know that right now I'm moving the opposite direction. That's because I want my right hand to be doing the fusing. When I have the drill, I usually hold it with the right hand and I fuse with the left, but for this build, my left hand's pretty much going to be idle or just counting spaces, so I don't need my left hand much. I'd rather use my right hand to fuse with this, so I actually flipped it around for this build. Now, I keep the 38 on the spool. I have 38 gauge stainless steel here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple twists in the beginning here. Nothing pretty. This is just to lock the 38 onto the wire. So I'm just going to wrap it around about 5 times. And this little excess down here, I'm just going to cut that clean so it's not hanging off and in my way. Then I'm going to take this 38 gauge and I'm going to drop it in one of the spaces and I'm going to follow the angles and see what looks good. Alright, I'm just going to see what spacing looks good. And then I'm going to bring it around again and see what spacing looks good again and try to get the same angle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some sort of magnifying glass. I'm going to hold this 38 here, lock it into place by pulling a little bit of tension down on it. So there's the 2 wraps I did with the 38 gauge. Now you could see them angles are a little different. And when I counted the spacing, I had 5 spaces in between here, which we will go close up and I'll explain what I'm talking about. We had 5 spaces on this side, and we had 6 spaces on this side. I tend to go with the side that has more spacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this fuse in every 7th space. So there will be 6 twist spaces on each side before the next fuse. And I will literally count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and put the fuse in. It can be very tedious, but after the first fuse, you won't have to do this any longer. It's literally only the first fuse. Alright, here's another top view. Now I've done 2 more fuses after the last one I just showed. You can see them angles are all the same. See that first one, that first angle's a little off. All them spaces, there's 6 in between each fuse, all the way up. So I literally just look at it, I take my spool, which has the wire on it, and after one wrap's done, I just hold a little tension here on the wire with my finger, and I bring it around. And I kind of just guess at first where it should go. Alright. And I put it in the place where I think it should go. And for the most part, usually you get either pretty close or you get better and better as you go down. But sometimes you can get pretty good at guessing the more times you do it. And then I just take my little tweezers here and I use these to count the spaces. Just go, I look at one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that side's good, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so my one side closer to me is good, but the other side isn't. It's only 5 spaces, so all I gotta do is take this wire and bring it up another space, and that's good. And then I could start the other wrap going around, just like that. Bring it around until it looks like it's the same angle, and then go in and count it. And I'm only looking at one side of the wire. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Support the wire, pull it down onto the next one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Support the wire, pull the 38 down. Alright, so my first fuse is done, so the counting is done. So basically, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the beginning, but all we did to figure out how to start is to find that angle that the twists are on. Alright, there's a certain angle that the twists are going on, and you want to put your 38 right into that angle and follow that angle over to the other frame. I see a lot of people making mistakes with going too straight over. We want to follow that angle. And now we're ready for the second fuse. Now the second fuse and all the fuses after that are much easier than the first, because all you got to do now is get in the space either in front or behind of the first fuse. There's no counting. You just go to the next one. You just go to the one in the front here, the one in the front here, the one in the front here, and that's it. It's going to go on the same angle, just one space up. So once again, I'm going to take a new piece of 38 and I'm going to wrap it around the beginning, right where it comes out of my clamp, just to get it locked onto there. I could cut that excess. Wrap around in the next space above the first space, and I'm just going to follow that all the way up. Now this part I don't even really need goggles to do, or glasses to do. These next fuses are a lot easier than the first, and I think just to give you an idea of how much easier, I'm going to leave this part of the video in real time. And I'll tell you when I get done. One coil. count the 5 spaces in between now. Now, to speed up the process even more, if you're getting very comfortable with fusing this, with hand fusing it, one way you could do it is by fusing two at the same time. I have two pieces of 38 here that I tied in a knot. I'm going to wrap both pieces around my strand. And I'm going to go in the top two gaps above my last fuse. Usually if you catch it in the right place, it will just split on one of the... Now I'm going to keep these split up by holding my finger in between. And I'm going to wrap it around. Alright, all done with the third and fourth fuse at the same time. Now, I've heard of people like Widowmaker Vapor doing all the way up to 4 strands of these at a time. I'm not quite there yet. Actually, that probably took me twice as long to do 2 strands than it would have, more than twice as long. I probably would have been better off just doing a single one at a time. But there's another way to do these quicker after the first fuse. That's right, you could set it up in a drill with a swivel after the first fuse. Very important that you do the first fuse hand wrap with only looking at one side, but once all them wires are in there and the spaces are counted, you could rip away with a drill or just have a nice little hand drill and you'll be good to go. Personally, I like to hand wrap the whole thing, but I only have 2 spaces left. It's already set up here, so I'm going to go off camera and just fill in the last 2 spaces with a couple pieces, and we'll be right back to see the wire. is that it's 4 pieces of 26 gauge. But those frames are so strong that they should hold the ribbon up just fine. Take your time, let the wire fall where it has to. That's it. So I put another wrap in this bad boy, bent the leads, and we're going to install it in a 25mm goon. I'll give you the ohms and everything and all the specs as soon as it's done. Alright, the single coil came out to a 0.12 single coil. So a dual would be about a 0.6, but a dual of this specs wouldn't be that great of an idea for vaping. A single would be alright. I kind of like the way these vape. Not a lot of people like them, but I do as a single coil. Now, like I said in the beginning, typically you're going to want to do these with higher gauges. I use bigger gauges for the video and also because I was going single coil. Other than that, I hope you found this video informative. I hope you enjoyed. I would like to get more build tutorials out there more often. And there's things when I did this video, I know I could have did better. It's just this one, it's really hard to get this one down because it's so much handwork and your hands are in the way as you're doing it. It's difficult for this tutorial, so I do hope that I did the best that I can to help explain to you how you get these clean, and a full fuse is what's important. How to do a full fused, framed helix staple. Go check out Homeboy OC's video on it, that's where I learned it. He uses sort of the same technique. Other than that, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, follow me on Instagram if you want to support the channel, and .divine83 on Patreon. I'm out of here. See you in the next one.